Alright guys, so welcome back here. So in the last video we talked about strings. Now I want to talk about list, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and make a new file here, and I'm going to call this lists.py, okay? So now first up here, before we start talking about too much here, let's go ahead and make a list here. So I'm going to say list of numbers, alright? Now the way that we make a list here is by two square brackets, and then we're going to put whatever we want to be a part of this list right in here, okay? It's separated by commas. So right now, let's make a list of numbers here. Let's make this like, I don't know, let's do odd numbers. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and 13. We'll do one more here, 15, okay? So it's not a string, it's not a number here, it's a collection of different things together here. Now it's worth knowing that we're going to have a list of numbers, and you can also have a list of different data types too, okay? Now the purpose of a list here is to be able to kind of combine information to still be separate but together, if that makes sense in a way here. Like if I have everything in a single string here, sure I could kind of sort them out and split them apart here, but it's still one string here. What I want to do with the list here, what the purpose of the list here is have a collection of, say, users, or have a collection of dates, or a collection of, I don't know, items, right? And I can have them all in one variable here, but I can pick different things out if I wanted to here from here, okay? And this makes more sense the more that you work with Python and the more you work with development. I'll be honest, when I started working with coding at first, I kind of saw a list. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. I'll just use a string instead here. Realistically, this is the more proper way to go about grouping together information, okay? Now what we can do here is let's go ahead and do print list of numbers from here. I'm going to save this from here. I'm going to go down to my terminal here, type in Python, and I'm going to say list of numbers. I'm sorry, yeah, list.py. And I'm going to run it here, and we get the same information back from up here, right? Pretty simple to be expected from there. Now, like I said before here, we could also do a list of string here. So let's make a list called players. Now I'm going to say, actually, before we do that here, let's go print type of, and we'll say list of numbers. Just to prove to you that I'm not lying, I'm sorry, not type of, that's no thing here, just type. And it says class list from there, okay? Now, I mentioned before that you could have a list of strings here. You could also have a string that you separate into a list from there, okay? So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's call this players, players, and let's just make this just like a string here. So we'll say like my name here, we'll make this like gamer1, gamer2, maybe have like a lobby of players here, gamer3, gamer3, come on now, gamer3, gamer, geez, I'm really off on that one, gamer4, and we'll do one more, gamer5, and save it. Now, if I want to separate this into a list here, what I could do is I could attach a method onto it here. So I'm going to take this string and I'm going to go dot split. And I'm going to pass in how I want to split the string here. So right now, the way that I split these individual items up is by a comma and then a space from there. So I'm going to put down quotes here, comma, and then space. And I'm going to save this just like that there. So I'm taking what would be a string here and I'm turning it into a list that I can access different parts of, okay? And just to prove that to you, we saw in the previous video how we took a piece of a string here and we were able to access it. We can do that same thing with the list up here. So I'm going to say print, and let's say I want the first player in this list here, the first player in the lobby. Remember, it starts at 0 here. I'm sorry, I did that wrong here. I'm going to say players, and I'm going to pass in position 0 there, followed by another parenthesis here. Remember that whenever we're counting the list here, it starts at 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and all the way up from there, okay? Save. Let's go ahead and run this here. And we can see that we get back the first item in this list here. Now, if I was to not have this on the end here, just like that here, I try to save it here, I would get obviously a different result. I would get the first piece of that string here. Okay, I'm going to add that back because we're working with list right now. Save. Let's go ahead. Now, another way you could do this here is you could also go from kind of descending order here. So I'm going to say print players, and I'm going to do a -1 from here, and if I run this here, now we get gamer5 back because it's counting back from the end here. It's -1 here, so -1, and then we get this piece of the list from there, okay? Hope that's making some sense here. I could also do it with list of numbers if I wanted to here. List of numbers, no different there. Remember these square brackets here means I'm getting a piece of something out of the list here. This should be 15. If I run this back again, now we get 15 from there, okay? So this would be... Actually, let's do one. So one more here, we can do something, we call it slicing from here. So we're going to say print, and we can say something players, and we can say like position 1 to position 3 here. Remember, it starts at 0, so we should get gamer1, gamer2, and gamer3 from there, okay? Save, and I run this back here. And this would be, well, I'm sorry, just, 1 and 2 here, because the first number is inclusive, where the last number is exclusive. So that means the third position, 0, 1, 2, 3 is exclusive. We're not including that here. And the first number is. All right. So this is what we refer to as slicing a list from here. Slicing list. All right, so right now we're just taking a list here. I'm just kind of picking out different pieces of that. All right. Now, if I wanted to add something onto this list here, I could take this list called players, and I could say .append, and I could add something to the list here. Let's add gamer 6 from here. And now let's go ahead and print gamers. I'm sorry, not gamers, players. Save. And if I run this back again here, now I get gamer 6 added on there. So appending is adding another item to the list. Now let's go ahead and change an item from the list here. Let's say players, and let's say position 0 here. This guy right here, he needs to change his name tag here. So we're going to change it to gamer 0. And this will be, remember to make a note here, this green stuff is the notes here. It's not running, it's just like notes for the developer. The machine doesn't pick up on it, if that makes sense there, okay? And I'm going to say this would be changing the first player in the list. Print players. Save. Run it back. Up. Enter. And now we see that we changed the first item in the list here. Okay? Cool. Now if we wanted to remove the last item here, remove last item. Oops. Last item from list. I could say players dot pop. And pop removes the very last item from the list here. Print players. So player 6 here, no longer, we don't like him anymore. We're going to kick him out here. So we get rid of player 6 and then run it back. Cool. And now we don't have that anymore. That we have gamer 6 there. Once we do the pop, it gets rid of the last one there. So that's cool, but that's only if I ever want to remove the last one. What if I want to remove a different one from the list here? Well, I can do that by saying players dot remove. I'm going to say pass in what I want to remove by name here. So I'm going to say gamer 0. And then pull a note here, removing item by name. Print players. Save. And then run the script here. We can see that we got rid of gamer 0 from there. So that's good if we want to remove something by name here. But if we want to remove something by the position here, a little different here. So now let's say removing item by position. Players, and we're going to say, I'm sorry, not players here. We're going to say DEL, short for delete, players, and then we're going to pass in position that we want to remove here. So let's say, I don't know, position 2 right now, okay? Let's save this here, and let's print players from there, players. And this is good to have. I really like having these notes here. I really encourage you guys to write down these notes too here, even though they're not essential for the script to run here. It's good to have this, especially as reference material from here, right? If I want to go back and it's like, man, how do I slice that list here? I can go back and go open the script here, and I can copy this from here. And developers do this stuff all the time, where they write out a block of code, and then from one project to another project, they just kind of copy it. You know, they steal that chunk of code that they wrote out before, and they put it in their new project, right? Why reinvent the wheel, right? If it works for one and it works for the second one, obviously doing it in an intelligent manner, not just copy and pasting that. But it's like, it's a normal thing just to be like, oh, that's how I did back there, and then copy it and then paste it in a new project. Anyways, let's see this last one work here. Save, and it should get rid of gamer 3 there. See it? Yep, no longer gamer 3. Gamer 1, 2, 4, and then 5 from here, okay? So this is working with the list from here. We were able to make a list of numbers, and we were able to make a list from a string from there, and we can start to work with it from here. Remember, this is just printing the stuff out here. If I do stuff like players.append, if I do stuff like delete players here, if I do players.remove here, it's going to remove that stuff from the actual list, okay? Other than that, guys, great job in this video here talking about list. You guys did great, and I will see you guys in the next one.